So today I've got a bone to pick. I need to talk slash vent about Google reps because I recently had a Google rep who actually tried to bribe one of my clients in accepting their suggestions to get help with something that we needed from a service perspective. And this just kind of got me going. And I just thought, we haven't talked about Google reps in a little while. And I think it's important one to talk about because Google reps are something that are not going away. If you've been managing Google ads for a little while um, or your clients have been, you'll know that Google reps come knocking on your door nonstop. And the more you spend in Google ads, the thriftier they get. They have different tactics to try to rope you into this relationship that they want you in. So I kind of want to break down how I approach Google reps, and I want to talk about the different levels of Google reps that I have experienced. Because, like I said, when you start spending more, Google reps change and their tactics change. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with what a Google rep is, usually your first interaction with them will be by means of an email. You'll get an email that says, "Hey, you are missing out on potential conversions. Like, how about we have a free meeting, a free consultation where we will guide you through this missed out opportunity, right?" And I'm just gonna stop there and say it's all garbaggio. It's usually somebody who doesn't actually have experience managing ads, and they're salespeople. A Google rep is a salesperson with a quota to get you to either spend more or switch to more automation. And these salespeople, again, they usually don't have experience running Google ads. They have they've read the documentation, what a structure should look like from Google's perspective. They've run your account through some AI that has identified missed opportunities, i.e., like search impression share or conversion loss based off of industry standards, things that don't actually apply in real world. And they use this little fear tactic to get you on the phone and then spoon feed you Google's newest idea of what your account should look like. And those things usually mean benefiting Google, not benefiting your account. And, the horror stories of accounts being ruined by listening to Google reps or applying automated recommendations, they're kind of the same thing, are endless, right? So I just want to say, like, if you or your clients get approached by a Google rep, like my approach is select the email, go to the top of your email inbox and hit block. Or I just tell my client who's, sometimes your client will say, "Hey, I got this email. I'd like for you to meet with the Google rep." And I just draw a line and say, one, we don't need two cooks in the kitchen. There's no need for us to have another manager slicing up our account, but also clarifying for your client that these are salespeople. They are not Google Ads specialists. And usually that's all that's needed to be said. And your client will understand, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. These are Google salespeople with, Google's priorities in mind, not the accounts in mind. Now, I want to talk about what happens when you start spending more in Google Ads. And this is what's going to segue me to this scenario that I had where I had a client that almost got bribed by our Google rep. Once you start spending a lot in Google Ads, like upwards of $100,000 a month, or sometimes even less, but you're going to get approached by these accelerated growth teams, these special teams that you have been granted access to. They make it seem like it's some privilege. And these teams are the same thing, to be honest. It's just wrapped differently. It's sometimes a team of people who are there to, they say, help you. Um, and the first red flag is actually they even force you into more or less like a contract agreement. And they actually start with making you go through a promise to even uphold a spend limit where it's like, okay, if you want to have this partnership, we just need a verbal agreement that you are going to hold your spend to X number. And usually it's just above what you're currently at. So that's the first red flag. They're already, even before a relationship has started, getting you to bump your budgets or hold budget over a certain period of time. So that's just the first thing. But my experience with these groups, yes, the person on the other end does have slightly more experience in at least talking about accounts. They won't be somebody overseas. They'll be somebody from offices in California or sometimes even offices near you. So, and it is somebody who maybe had some experience in Google Ads, but the conversations always end up the same. They're listening for 10% of the time, and then they're just using every opportunity that they have to force you into or convince you of shifting your strategy to more automated strategies or diversifying your campaign types instead of just focusing on what you have. And usually what or I should say I have tried to work with these groups and I have worked with them in the context of starting a conversation being like, okay, listen, I'm, in all honesty, not really interested in changing my account and taking all these recommendations. It'll be for accounts that I've managed for years that are successful. But I'll say, hey, if you want to have a relationship, if you actually want to help, I would love to have you around for when we need help, when I've got merchant centered disapprovals, for when I've got things that I have questions for. I'd love for you to be there for that. And that's when they say, uh. We are here for you to listen to us, not for us to listen to you. And I've literally had a number of these calls, a number of these partnerships just stop dead in their tracks because they'll say, no, we're not actually here to serve that purpose. So quote unquote, we're not here to like actually help you for what you need. We're here for you to listen to our recommendations and try to steer your ship. And yeah, I mean, I'm just at my wit's end with these groups. So I just wanted to talk about it and say how, don't fall for it. Don't fall for these accelerated growth groups. And, even the reports they give, I did try them for a while, like, oh, we have extra access to data so we can see deeper things about your competitors that you might not be aware of or market insights. So be like, okay, yeah, show me what you got. Their market insights are basically keyword planner. It'll just basically say, oh, like over this season, there is a surge in demand for, and they'll pick like the most general keyword in your campaign. So we recommend like increasing your budgets now. And it's like, okay, thanks or nothing. So yeah, be careful of these accelerated growth teams. I have tried to make them work for so many ways from one. So, but I do want to circle back to this situation that I've got to share where I had a client where we got approached by one of these teams and my client kind of knows that I'm not interested. We've been approached by them many times before and he said, "You know what? My manager is good. He doesn't really need to speak with you." But the client said, "You know what? We do have something that we could use some help with if you want to help." And he said, for those of you who aren't aware, there is once you start spending a certain amount, Google has changed how you're billed, right? You're no longer able to pay with credit card. You have to pay by direct transfer. It's kind of one of Google's ways of saving on credit card processing fees. So my client asked, like, hey, while we sort this out, we would love if we could get an extension to give us some more time because it's kind of complicated. And the Google rep said, "Sure, I can get you like 30 to 60 days, but we're going to need a sit down." He said, "You give me a sit down, you've got your 30 to 60 day grace period to change the billing." So my client called me and said, "Hey, Joey, do you mind sitting down with them? I know you're not a fan of this, but I could really use this 30 to 60 days and they just want to sit down." So I said, "Sure, no problem." So I started the call and it was the same as always, right? And I just basically said, "Listen, I am not really interested in that kind of relationship where I want to change my account based off your recommendations. I don't really need them. But how about we work in this context where, like I've tried in the past, where we could work together when I need something, when we have a disapproval, and when we have an issue that I need extra support." And that's when the tone totally changed. And this rep just said, basically, no, this is a partnership, a relationship. This is not a support line. And we ended the call. And even though that this rep had said, if we get the sit down, they'll give us the 30-day, 60-day extension, she just said, sorry, Joey did not want to work with us, so we cannot grant you the 30 to 60-day extension. If you guys reconsider, we will reconsider. So it just goes to show you how obvious their intentions are, even for these large accounts. Like this client spends hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and they couldn't just be there as a support to help us when they need it. It's all about their sales tactics. So, all the way from a small, $500 a month account to a multiple, hundreds of thousands of dollars account, these Google reps have the same intention. So I guess I just wanted to talk about this as a cautionary tale. But it's also, I do want to say it's not to say remain close-minded. I don't want to think like, oh, you as a manager don't need to hear from them. If you want to sit through these calls and listen to them, go for it. But just be really careful because their priorities are for Google's best interest, not the account's best interest. So